Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalMister.com's Daily Brief Recap. It's about 10 to 11 here on the West Coast. Actually, fairly long session with the crew here today. We had Sjord. He was on a bit of a family vacation there last week, so he's come back full of piss and vinegar, setting up the site subscriptions, good old Brian's key reversal, stuff like that. I can't wait to get marketing on that because I really think awesome product, and it should really benefit the community immensely. So we've got that going, and a bunch of stuff on the go as well. Having Stuart back, he's a very good inside beat into crypto, and he's very involved in the DeFi space as it is right now. So, I mean, me, chart technician, I turn on my screen and I see a sea of red, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Fjord at least explains to us why all you kids are freaking out right now. What was the name of that thing that he was telling us about? Can you remember, Kevin?
Anyway. Yeah, I got it right here. I'll find it while you're talking.
I think it was like the Terror Network or something like that.
It was Iron Finance.
Iron Finance, yeah. So if I understand correctly, one of these DeFi projects just blew up horribly. What I do find fascinating is there was, and I guess, just by default, if you happen to have a lot of money in this world, you get credibility. So there's one gentleman, frankly speaking, I've watched him my entire career. I don't know why people are so in love with the guy, but anyway. If I understand correctly, one gentleman put a bunch of money into this DeFi, sort of a socially known name. And it's gone. And it's gone. Ironically enough, it just reiterates Brian's 2 rules of investing. I wrote the rules when I was a broker, and it kept a lot of my clients out of trouble. Why would it be any different for billionaires? So, you take too much risk, you put too much of your ego, your net worth at risk on any one idea, and it might be your undoing. Is it really worth taking that risk? I suppose in a weird sort of way, for a guy like me, I like to, play from a position of strength. I've got a lot of money sitting in the bank. I've got a lot of different, various different asset packets all around the world. So I'm well diversified. I'm the type of guy, I don't have that much hair on the top of my head. It's going. I'm getting older. I want to try and keep that hair on my head as long as possible. And I don't want to go gray. I mean, I couldn't believe it. There's I don't even quite know why, but another gentleman who just so happened to get rich because he was in a tech company that did fairly well here over the past decade. I mean, the guy's pretty young, and he's already starting to go gray. I saw an interview the other day, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's only like in his 20s or 30s, and he's already going gray. This world, I don't know. What's the point? I don't take that much risk. I don't have that much stress. As I don't get paid to do these videos. I don't care. Money doesn't mean that much to me. The most important thing for me right now, ironically enough, my big sort of main goal in life is I want to build a not-for-profit organization. That's my big aspiration. Like, Brian, man, I don't know. I suppose if I was like actually hell bent on making money and capitalists and stuff, you'd probably all hate me. I'd be fucking working you guys right, left, and center. So the fact that I don't have the money bent, hopefully you guys can appreciate that. And hopefully you're enjoying my comic stylings. Remember, I don't have any vested interest in whether you take any of my trades or not, I'm managing my own money. And I mean, if I take a trade, I want to make money on my own trade. I do like the idea that we've got this awesome TRI site up and running and a school program to teach you the process. And as I said, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to actually get more involved in the charitable arm of our society. And I've got a project I'm working on right now in Hawaii. And actually, it'll be a really cool test case because the local population in Hawaii is actually relatively impoverished. And, my level 3 TA instructor, he's from Hawaii. So and he's actually by trade a real estate developer. So it's awfully fortuitous that that relationship is intact. But he actually really likes the idea of the not-for-profit there, where we just go into the local schools and actually just try and teach people a little bit about money management, self-management, holding yourself to account, the process. Weird thing is, a lot of this stuff, the process, in fact, on our intro page, one of our UK crew, if you go watch that video, I don't know whether it is. Let's see where it is here. These guys, Warwick, over there in the UK. This guy here. And ironically enough, this is exactly what he's saying, man. If you actually learn the process, so go and, go to our YouTube channel and watch this video. It's a great video. These are real people that I've helped. And this is what I want to do. But notice, these guys are a whole bunch of white guys. They don't need help. Who are the people that really need help? We got to go to like the fucking third world, indigenous population, stuff like that, where nobody teaches this stuff and nobody's incentivized to teach people this stuff. So that's what I want to do. Brian, and it's great. They're like, Brian and his he's off trying to save the world, Ben. So that's what my big focus is. And if I'm lucky, I get to change my name to Sedona Euphoria while I'm at it. But as for capitalism and the stock market right now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The 1% has definitely got the market by the short and curlies, and they're basically just doing what they please with the market here, to the detriment of the general populace. Remember, 1% always wins. And in a weird sort of way, I think there's sort of, we talk about the crime of the century. Well, ironically enough, you can actually make the argument that about once every 80, 90 years, they have to go and steal a shitload of money from society to make sure that the banking class can continue their banking tax. And I would argue that actually that is the definition of your sort of crime of the century. The only problem is that they do it in such a way, and of course they own all the politicians that pass the legislation. They do it in such a way that it's all 100% perfectly legal. And in a weird sort of way, our society actually thanks them for doing this to us, which, oh my God. That's the tragedy of all of this, is that they've actually engineered it that we actually have to thank them while they are applying the Vaseline to our tender backside. This world. Anyway, so, you can either be a victim of this, if you're a pensioner, if you're a guy just punching the clock, and it almost seems like there's just no way out. House prices, of course, now are going to get staggeringly expensive. Joe Sixpack, who hasn't really had a substantial raise in their sort of standard of living since, I think I'd probably argue 1971. I mean, that's how long this has been going on. And there's no stop to it. It'll probably go on another 20, 30 years. How do you get ahead? Well, what you got to do is you got to go work for the man for a bit, which sucks. Then you got to try and save a little bit of money. And then once you save that money, then you got to start getting to work. And you got to let that money itself compound. And you got to let that money grow, which means you got to figure out growth industries. You have to figure out, is there some asset that I can put this little bit of savings into that's going to grow faster than the rate at which the bankers are taxing our society and stealing money from us. Keep in mind, just punching a clock, no, you're not going to beat them. Their pace of inflation, inflating the assets, it's only going to get worse over the next 20, 30 years, folks. And the next cycle, unfortunately, like we just went through a low interest rate cycle, and all these MMT people are coming out of the woodwork. The next cycle pivot in 40 years will be an interest rate peaking period, which means I can tell you at that point, the socialists, they won't hold a fucking candle. Right now, the capitalists own the world. And they're going to slowly acquiesce here over the next 20, well, probably 40 years. Over the next 20 years, you're not really going to see it too much. You know, we came off of basically the zero line with regard to interest rates. And I think interest rates are heading up now. But because they are such low levels, you won't really see it for a while. So here's our sort of inflation deflation proxy, the TIPS versus the TLTs. And you can see this is sort of the peak of the sort of inflation push here lately, and we've kind of bumped up into that area. Could we have another push up into that area all through here? Sure. But at the same time, too, I don't see us going through this top anytime soon. That's a pretty damn significant top up there. So, you know, these next 10, 15 years, we're all going to be about how does this turn look like. And 10, 15 years from now, my hunch is we eventually actually break through. And then the next, you know, this period here going out, and really this should start about 2035, 2040. So even this is a bit early. This should be like way up, maybe about there. Well, even like out there. This is going to take a long time to play out, folks. Don't get me wrong. But it will be way out here that actually we start talking about, oh my God, inflation is out of control. But right now, this is going to be the period where, you know, we're going to be dealing with COVID nonsense for the next few years. Are there still more stimulus packages coming? Could be. You know, Biden wants all his socialist agendas and shit done. I mean, who knows how that plays out? But my hunch is we're back and forth here for probably the next 4 or 5 years at least. And then we'll start to see whether we actually get any traction on the economy. My hunch is no. Like, this is going to take, I mean, you see here, right? This is 2021. Here we are now. And really, you might argue that we actually entered into this sort of really artificially low, depressed interest rate environment, really kind of like here's where we started. Oh my God, what are we doing? I'll get that, get out of there. All right, but then, oh, you know, here we are. So, you know, MMT kind of conversations kind of started. That's 2008. So that's like, what is that? That's like, you know, what, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So could we have an exact replication of this price action over here? Sure, why not? And then at the end of that, then we start getting up into like serious interest rate increases. And really, I don't even want to be in the market. I don't want to have anything to do with debt or anything like that at that time because interest rates are going to get expensive. And the banks are probably going to kill the public just like they did in the 1930s with the Great Depression and all that. So anyway, message over the short term, I wouldn't worry about double-digit interest rates just yet. If anything, I think we're probably still dealing with sickness and COVID. And as long as we're in that environment, I think the 1% is just going to sort of, they're going to tinker with prices just to make sure everything sort of stays somewhat stable-ish. I mean, it's not going to be flat. Things are going to be up and down. But I don't see any like collapses while the Fed is sort of like, you know, they've got their foot on the gas pedal. Lots of jockeying. That's probably the way that I would describe the market right now. For example, US dollar index, lots of jockeying for position here. I think more likely on the euro. And I thought it was interesting. I did a chart of the euro here earlier today. And keep in mind, Friday, the market sure moved dramatically. But interesting. That was the closing level on Friday. I mean, the whole fucking market. I mean, you saw how the gold market was acting, stocks getting hammered. Is there something maybe important that, remember, Friday was a huge 6-month, June quadruple witching, lots of deliveries. And look at this level. Is this level kind of important on the euro? I think so. Especially if we go to like monthly chart. I mean, this euro has pivoted many, many times off of this exact same level. So clearly this isn't important. There was some sort of agenda here that had to happen on that June expiry to have the euro where it was. As it stands right now, just in the short term, I would just simply say there's the top on the euro, there's the bottom on the euro, and we're in a trading range, and we're pretty much at the top end of the range. Should we punch out through the top here? Great, big bull. But my hunch is, they say markets range 70 to 80% of the time. So my hunch is we're probably going to have to come back down against the bottom end of the range. Maybe W out. Notice this is looking very M-y. If this M's out, then I think, yep, we're probably going to pivot back down to the bottom end of the range. And that would be the US dollar moving up in earnest. So I just wonder whether there was some sort of big position squaring that happened on Friday. That's my hunch here. Especially if we look at things like the stock market and the oil market. Something just doesn't smell right about all this. So there's your US dollar. Interesting. 2.618 off of the bottom. Bang, hit it. Look where we're sitting right now. Clearly somebody had that level in mind there. We're sitting right on that goddamn 2.618. Freaky. There's a little bit of a gap right up top here. And of course, if we do go and W out through the top here, oh boy, all hell breaks loose. Huge upside numbers. I don't know whether I see that right now. Right now, this almost looks like a 2-bar railroad tracks. Remember, I said that euro closing level on Friday. That was an important level. And it kind of feels like they're done here. But we'll see. If that 2-bar railroad tracks is there today, then we'll know where the rally's done. So remember, I put out a tweet on Friday. I couldn't believe how much stock Wall Street actually bought on Friday. I mean, a lot of stock. And it's interesting, too. A lot of call options that Wall Street wrote all expired worthless. So lots of puts. Public was selling tons and tons and tons of stock here. I think we figured something like it was like $18 billion worth of stock. I mean, a lot of fucking stock, people. And Wall Street just gobbled it right up. And look at that move today. Whoa! So I get the impression Wall Street wanted that stock. Interesting how the oil market rallied right back up top, filled in the gap here. So let's see what happens. If Wall Street did want to unwind that massive buy, at least now they can do it at a slight profit. We'll see how this turns out. We might get a nice little inside bar tomorrow. And then if we fail off of that, then we actually have a nice continuation sell signal. That would be predicated on the oil also putting in an inside bar and failing. It's too early to predict whether that's going to happen or not. All you can do is just sort of sit and watch and let's see what happens. I had said earlier that I felt as though Mr. Biden really needed this stock market to come down to get his stimulus package passed. If these markets are as strong as they are, I can't see how they can get that big sort of bipartisan, everybody's in favor of socialism bill passed. But that's still at least a good couple weeks away, I guess. Interesting to see how the bonds, they actually initially reacted bullishly. Of course, the stock market fell apart there on Friday, so these things gapped open. and went violently higher. And then all of a sudden they just reversed violently here. I don't know whether we're done this A, B, C, D. It is interesting. That top looks like it's basically at that objective. Freaky how that shit happens, eh? I mean, look at that. How do you predict that top was going to happen there? That's insane. I don't know how this stuff works, folks. It's cosmic. Look at that. Son of a bitch. Probably also, too, if we did foggy buggies. I bet you this is a nice foggy buggy level up here. The foggy buggy elephant. Let's see what we got. So this one, boom. Yeah, kind of missed that level. Wondering whether off of this one. Let's see what we get when we do this one. We couldn't use that though because it would have to be there. So that means it has to be way up here. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see what we got. There. Oh, well, there's 2.618, a little higher. So can't really discern anything out of this, I guess. Actually, I think I prefer this one, Anyway, doesn't look like any levels particularly. Yeah. Still a little bit out. So the only thing it looks like was this A, B, C, D. Is that the end of that run? Well, it is a V top. Usually they say V tops need to be tested. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of counter turn high at some point. But man, that just looks messier than hell, eh? And remember we'd said last week, I did not like the look of this, the way that they had this huge spike up, then slammed down, then up, then gap lower against these lows, run these stops, then work its way up. I mean, geez, something just doesn't smell right about all of this. So I do believe that they have now hit that ABCD objective. And of course, you saw what happened to the gold market last week. Oh boy, what have they got in store here? I wonder. I haven't really been the biggest fan of the bonds, and I don't really want to be going forward because of the whole interest rate prognostication. But I did listen to one gentleman, Larry Williams, over the weekend, and he was kind of saying, well, I'm actually feeling like bonds need to work their way back up into things like reload zones up top here. But I don't know, man. I don't like the look of this. That's now probably going to create like a bearish momentum divergence as well. There's my funny little prognostication. So certainly no trade for me to do here. This is just an absolute mess. But one thing I actually was pleased at was seeing the way that the gold market followed our little prognostication. And gold's enjoying a nice little bit of an update here today, but nothing really a buy signal. If anything, we probably should look for dead cat bounces to come fill this gap in here. And I was looking at the gold and the silver stocks with the kids on the site in the daily brief. Didn't really like what I saw out of the gold stocks. And didn't really like what I saw out of the silver stocks. Copper doesn't look bad. Some of the base metals, they look okay. I suppose if you're playing the bullion itself, there's probably your Wyckoff check double bottom level right in there. But we haven't hit that yet, so be careful here. I don't see any reason to call a bottom just yet here. So, risk off. Kind of a funny, I got a funny feeling that's the end of that risk off move there. Risk off got absolutely destroyed there last week. So just licking its wounds. Risk off, risk on, huge rally. Risk on, big rally up to fill in gaps. So actually, interesting laugh. No new signals here at all. Small caps versus large caps. I would prefer this to come down a little bit more here. So really no signal there for me. And good old crypto, unfortunately, has another one of the risk assets. A little bit of a disconnect here. Something funny's going on here. But I would have actually expected crypto to be a little bit firmer, given how strong these risk-on proxies are. Maybe this is to do with like the DeFi space, the shitcoin space, that scandal, Iron Finance. Crypto's a bit weak here this morning. It's kind of a prognostication, kind of what I'm thinking. This is a typical crypto name. This is reload zones. This is the bottom end of range. What I would think maybe the bottoming pattern kind of looks like over the next little while. Could be mistaken. Maybe if we're lucky, this is a bottom here and we head up. But if this DeFi crap does get a bit more traction, we might have to go into this. Very plausible. Litecoin, I did go and pick up a little bit of that recently, but I got chicken shit the other day. I was just like, get me the hell out of here. So I walked away. Good thing. We are sort of melting down here. Now, maybe if I get an inside bar, W, whatever, now we're into this candle body low level. I could maybe take a look at it. But the signal's got to be bulletproof, especially in the face of this kind of momentum. Rising volume, that's not good. M's. Willie's not even stupid yet. I think I better just leave that alone. And probably the thing that pisses me off the most, I sure hope somebody sues this son of a bitch. Because, there goes Litecoin. All of these people now are all underwater. Or not Litecoin, Dogecoin, sorry. That Mr. Musk guy is laughing at everybody. I mean, really, he should be sued. He should be sued into the fucking ground over this terrible, terrible shill. If this was his stock, and the reason why he couldn't do this with Tesla stock is because the regulator said, you do this and we're going to sue you and we will literally take your company away from you. So he goes and switches to crypto and does this in crypto. Terribly irresponsible. I did say, ironically enough, between about sort of 10 and 20 cents, actually, I can start going and buying the coins that I sold up at 50 some odd cents back. So I pocketed about 50, 60 G's on that trade. So if I just go buy the position back, that's a nice free, 20, 30,000 bucks on the trade. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I could take that. I'm a little disappointed in the unconscionable attitude of these people. No remorse, no sense of sort of moral responsibility. Just, can I fuck you over? And if I can, well, it's your own fault for being fuckable. And I really dislike that about our society. And frankly speaking, I really hope that the guy who's running the SEC right now, he says, Mr. Musk, I'm sorry, you are on the hold here. Please explain yourself, and maybe you ought to pay some fines to pay these people back. Unfortunately, they'll never get their money back. They're gone. That's over. It's toast. But I don't know. Maybe the SEC can sue him for terrible leadership and morally irreprehensible behavior. And maybe they can create some sort of charity or something that the money can be used for to try and help people in this world. I don't know. Call me crazy. All right. There's your market summary. As we had sort of said, this 2 weeks into the end of June, beginning of July is going to be tough. Friday, of course, they threw the baby out with the bathwater. So today we're having a nice dead cat bounce. I don't see anything new going on here. A lot of position squaring. And extremely dangerous. I think there's a lot of politics going on in the market right now, not economics, and you might get flushed out of really good positions because of politics and not actually bad sort of investment decision ideas. So be forewarned, be careful. PMA for the win. See everybody back here tomorrow. All the best. And bye for now.